Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad. Today's going to be a great episode. I'm speaking it into existence now because it's an episode I'm excited. And when I'm excited, I know you're excited too. Joining me today inside the Bachelor Pad is Melissa. Melissa, can you just tell me a little bit about your background? Where are you from?
Hi, Joshua. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about this podcast as well, for a number of reasons. But where am I from? Gosh, that's such a tell me more about you. When people ask that, I'm like, gosh, there's so many things that I could talk about. So, right now I am coming to you live from Ontario, Canada, and it's very cold here right now, lots of snow.
It's funny. I moved to the south because I wanted to get away from the snow, but somehow we've gotten less snow and more cold.
Where are you then?
I'm in Nashville now.
Oh, I have a friend in Nashville. I'm going to be heading down to Nashville within the next couple of months with my sister-in-law. So now I've got an actual friend
You
there.
do have an actual friend.
Oh, great. Okay. We might be reaching out to you for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting. So today we're taking a little break from talking about our relationships because it's a new year. We've already started off on a strong note. But one note that I feel like we neglect sometimes is that of our career, that of our ambition. Sometimes we get a little stuck. So maybe our resolution needs to be on how do we level up in our careers. And that's a scary thing for a lot of people. Taking the first step, even for me, I still get nervous sometimes. Do I want to stay where I'm at now? Do I think I could find another patch of grass that's greener and greater? Or should I shoot for the stars and just do something left field that I've never done before? And I think Melissa has a lot of experience in this wheelhouse. So, of course, I had to get her.
I love it. I love it. So it's interesting that when you first reached out and inquiring about doing a podcast together, at first I thought the not so bad bachelor pad, like what am I going to talk about with intimate relationships? But the reality is everything is relationships,
100%.
including our career. The more I thought about it, the more I thought this absolutely makes sense. And it's so transferable and relatable and intertwined. And I think you're brilliant for realizing that, actually, not just for having me on, but really brilliant for actually putting two and two together and coming to the conclusion that careers ultimately affect our relationships and vice versa. And that's just not just intimate relationships, partnerships, but also familial. So, our kids, our whoever we're living with, whoever, we come in contact with the closest. I think that the career absolutely makes such a big difference. And you're right. It's interesting that as you were saying about careers, it's sometimes scary and, do I go for more? Do I change careers? You could have been talking about relationships right there, a partnership, right? Sometimes the grass looks greener. Sometimes the grass is greener. Sometimes we're afraid to make the leap. And, that has to do with relationships and in business or changing careers, or if you're an entrepreneur, want to delve into the world of entrepreneurship as well. So I'm definitely an entrepreneur through and through. I think I've come to the realization that I will never work for somebody else. I am definitely better at being my own boss. I like having the flexibility and freedom. But a lot of times, with being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, a lot of people don't realize that when you're working, you typically want to become an entrepreneur because you like what you do, or you have a skill set that you want to teach, or there's a product that you want to sell. Not realizing that when you jump into owning your own business, much like what you're doing, Joshua, being an entrepreneur, there's so many other things that pull you out of the thing that you love to do, including
Right.
managing and having people skills. And so what's interesting is that I opened up my own company 5 years ago. It's called Enspire Dental Opportunities. And it's a recruitment and staffing company, basically. It's a recruitment company for dental professionals. So all of our clients are dentists who are seeking staff. They're looking for hygienists, dental assistants, front desk staff, other associate dentists, as well as specialists for their practice. And so a lot of times, just to give an example, a lot of dentists are fantastically skilled at dentistry, but
Mhm.
really don't have as much knowledge, of course, in the business of dentistry, and especially when it comes to recruiting and staffing and finding the right people to join your team. And that's really difficult coming from somebody who's spent so many years studying for a particular skill set, and now all of a sudden they've got to manage a team. And so when I opened this company, interestingly enough, I ended up building out my own team and getting a lot of referrals. And it's such a niche market, but it's such a big market as well. And what I found was that there's a big gap between the skill set of dentists and, like I said, the business of dentistry and the ability to build teams and retain teams. And the biggest thing that I found is that a lot of people lack the social skills or the emotional intelligence and
Mm.
realizing it's just about connection. And that falls into relationships as well. It's really one of the same. And so now I'm constantly being asked to teach and train on culture building, team building, conflict resolution, training teams on how to better communicate with their teams, as well as dental practice owners learning how to lead better through communication and working with their teams. Because a lot of us, we weren't taught that in school. We weren't taught how to communicate effectively. We weren't, unless you specifically took courses on that. And I don't know, I didn't see any courses like that when I was growing up, but unless you're specialized in psychology. But even then, unless you have some really great role models in your life, then a lot of people don't know what a good relationship looks like, whether it be professional or business. And they're really one of
I
the same.
agree. For those of you guys who've been with me from the very, very beginning, I used to say just relationships, no matter what form they come in, are still relationships. Whether they be romantic, platonic, familial, we're all connected through some form of relationship. And really, if you think about it, a lot of times we focus on romance or family, but you spend so much of your time with your work community. And sometimes that's equal or greater than the time you spend with your own family or any romantic interest you have.
Yep.
So, really curating a culture where you feel comfortable, safe, seen, and heard is very important. If you don't feel seen or heard or confident in your work, like you said, when you come home, you're either a shell of yourself or you're going to overcompensate for that, whatever you're not getting in your current field. Being an entrepreneur is super scary, but I love it. You're right. As much as I would love to just work for myself, doing it full time is the scary part. It's safer just to do it part time and have something to rely on. But there really is a mentality that you have to have if you're going to like grow a business. And that doesn't always work with other entrepreneurs in the room. It's like trying to walk two dogs, each one wants to sniff this, the one wants to sniff the other one, and you're just being
Absolutely.
pulled back and forth.
Yeah. And what if your partner doesn't understand the entrepreneurial mind, right? I was in a past relationship, a past marriage. I'm happily divorced now.
There we go. Congratulations.
Yeah, happily divorced. I know it's interesting when I tell people, you married? No, I'm divorced. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, 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 don't be sorry. I'm happily divorced, and actually,
Oh
we
yeah.
get along. We get along quite well. It's better for both of us. And there is, life after divorce. So sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger and step outside your comfort zone when you know that that's the right decision for you. But getting back to the entrepreneurial thing again, I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit of there's always more to do, more to see, more to connect, more to give, more to serve. And he was more of the mindset of like, gosh, are you ever going to settle down? Are you ever going to stop? Like, when is enough enough?
Right.
And I think that's the difference between an entrepreneur and a non-entrepreneur. So sometimes in relationships that can create a little bit of a clash if there's not communication and understanding and respect around that. So that's really tough. But you're right, entrepreneurship can be difficult, especially when you're kind of transitioning and taking the leap, because you're betting your entire livelihood on your own capabilities.
Yeah.
And that's scary because sometimes we fail. And I like to say we fail forward. As long as we can learn lessons from our failures in anything that we do, then that's success. And it's actually just taking the wins and the small things that we do. And that's like relationships too, though, just to tie it back in, is sometimes we come to an end of a relationship and, it's hard to end things. You can't really experience true growth until you've cut off kind of the dead ends. I don't know how to say that more eloquently, but sometimes there is an ending, and then other times it's not. You've got to work towards it, but it's much like entrepreneurship, is knowing when to say no. There's power in saying no to things, and we don't need to say yes to everything, and really standing in your power and understanding what's important to you. And that brings me to another topic that I talk about a lot with my clients is your core values, and teaching dental professionals and I've got some other clients who are outside of the dental profession, and they're entrepreneurs and other leaders, and teaching them leadership skills. The fundamental of figuring out who you are as an individual is really important, and figuring out what your core values are, what's really core to you. And once you figure out who you are, then you can align yourself with the proper people in your life, whether it be business or personal. Like when you realize, okay, what are my boundaries? What are my standards? What are the things that I'm willing to stand up for? And dare I say, to die for, right? What are the things that are really, really core to you? It makes it so much easier to make bigger decisions in your life. So when you're faced with a big decision, if you know what your core values are, it's going to make it easier, because you can see whether it's aligned or not. And some people say that, they can feel it in their gut. You get that gut feeling of
Right.
whether something is right. Sometimes people, they listen to their gut, their intuition. And some people are really, really tuned into that. Others, not so much, but they've done the work to figure out what's important to me. Where am I going? What's my purpose? What's my why? And if these people don't align with those things that are important to me, then it's okay to move on, or it's okay to have them in a different category of your life, whether again be business or interpersonal.
I love that you say that, because one of the biggest things that has been a reoccurring theme so far this season is you don't know until you take the leap. Trying is scary. We're all afraid to fail. But you're right. You just have to fail forward. As long as we're taking away something each time that we make a mistake, or that we try something and it didn't necessarily work out, whether that be a business venture, whether that be asking somebody out, shaving your head, dyeing it purple. You want to try something new. There's nothing wrong with shaking the box. There's power in thinking outside of the box. There's a lot of creativity and ownership and opportunity outside there. So that's great. But like you said, it doesn't always work out. At least, or maybe it doesn't work the way we think it'll work.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, is being able to adapt your perspective to be, hey, nothing really fails. It just either goes as planned or it ends a little differently.
Right. What if we
Yeah,
embraced the unknown? What if we
exactly.
got excited about the unknown? I mean, there's no excitement in having your entire life mapped out for you. Of course, you want to have some structure, absolutely. But why not embrace the unknown? And really, that's where the growth is being open to pivot and open to change and open to opportunity. Really, that's really where the opportunity is when you're open to it, and when you're willing to kind of go in other directions that you didn't think that they were going to go. And a lot of people
Yeah.
have a hard time with that. Most people, they don't like change, and they find it very stressful. But just know that even those people that don't like change at all, you can change that mindset. You can change that little by little, embracing the small changes. And you'll find over time, as you embrace the small changes, you'll build yourself up to, bigger ones. And then to one day where you're like, wow, I actually, you know what? I don't mind change. I see that there's actually possibility and opportunity in that change.
And we're always the last person to really recognize a change that's occurring within us. For those of you, I guess this is new, the video platform. And ever since we've been doing video, you haven't seen me with glasses on, but I had
Uh,
LASIK done last year.
oh,
And somebody last night told me, they're like, ever since you got that done, you've been a lot more confident, or you've just been really emboldened. And I was like, I think bold is my brand. But I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Maybe I have taken more risks unconsciously. Maybe I am, hitting a different stride. But to me, I didn't notice it. I was just being me. It took somebody else observing to be like, is this the same person?
interesting.
Yeah. And I think
Such
that's
a
something that's sorry,
Yeah.
crucial in every aspect of our life is, I would say this, we have to check in on ourselves because so often we just live life on autopilot. And like you said, and you start to be like, well, here are my values, here's my purpose, here's my why. And you start living in alignment with that. I think naturally you just start to find that confidence.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of times people think that confidence is gained by these big, enormous goals that are achieved. And it's actually the opposite. Confidence is built up by little tiny things every day over time, right? And it's also built up by when you fail and overcoming those failures. So it's not just, one big win or one big, if you're in sports and you've got these massive achievements or academic or whatever it is, it's a little goals that you set up for yourself on a daily basis. And it could be as little as, what? I want to make my bed every day. I want to make my bed, and that's one goal. Or I want to go for a walk every day, and you accomplish that. It's like setting these little goals and these little targets and achieving them. And every single time you achieve any goal, whether it be big or small, you are gaining confidence, and then it's compounded. So if you're finding yourself, stuck, or whether it be at work and you're lacking confidence, or in a relationship, or you want a relationship and you don't feel confident, start start with the little things every single day, and just set one little goal for yourself, and don't make it too crazy where it's unattainable, but a little goal that kind of motivates you a little bit. And you'll find that little by little you'll start standing up a little bit taller, you'll feel a little bit better about yourself. And it's really in doing those things even when people aren't looking. It's like that's where integrity comes in. It's that
Yes.
step above even of confidence, is really building in that integrity and doing the things that you say you're going to do, follow through with them. It's like those little tiny things, those actually add confidence. And that has been proven. And there's a lot of data backed by that those little tiny things will help to increase that. So don't deny the small things, because those things add up.
I couldn't agree with you more. First person accountability is huge. Just accountability in general is huge in any aspect of your life, because if you are not the person who is holding you to your highest standard, it's just like what we talked about a few weeks ago. I don't want to be the same me I was yesterday. I
Hmm.
definitely don't want to be worse than I am yesterday or the same. I want to be better. How can I be better today than I was yesterday?
Hmm.
And it starts with accountability, holding yourself accountable. Am I exercising like I wanted to? Am I slacking off on my diet? Am I spending too much time in front of a TV? Am I not going out and meeting new people like I want to? Am I not investing in my business plan? Like you said, it's those little things. We're not saying, because heaven knows, it's like we didn't start our businesses overnight. There were many
Oh,
days, weeks,
yeah,
months
yeah.
compounded that culminated together to finally get things going. And it's the same for anybody. I think that's the hardest thing to explain for me sometimes to people is I see so much potential in people, but I don't know how to explain. They're like, well, how did you start your own business? It was just something I needed to do. I don't really know how you would categorize an entrepreneur or a business owner, but I was like, it's just a feeling for me. I realized I couldn't work for somebody else. I needed to be my own change.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. I mean, for me, I think I've always had the entrepreneurial mindset, but this particular business, sometimes you fall into things and there's opportunities. And if you're of the mindset to be open and take a risk, and again, it's scary because you're betting on yourself. And I've got two little kids, so I'm a single mom with two little kids, so you're really betting on yourself
Yeah.
to be successful, because you're not providing just for yourself, you're providing for two dependents who they look up to you. And so it's a lot of pressure. But with that pressure also comes, a lot of satisfaction knowing that, when you get through the hard times, and gosh, there's of course going to be hard times. I
Yeah.
mean, every day, basically we're problem solvers. There's going to be a problem every day in entrepreneurship for sure. But I think that relationship starts with self. I think that, like you said, recognizing that most people are on autopilot, and the true leaders are the ones who can self reflect and really think about life from a little bit of a different perspective. And yeah, reflection is huge. So in the morning when I get up, before I get out of bed, I envision what my day is going to look like. So
Okay.
I do this twice a day. So in the morning when I wake up, laying in bed, I'm still a little bit tired, but I'm not getting up yet because I want to visualize. I think about all the things that I have to do during the day. I think about, I visualize how those conversations are going to go. I visualize if I'm meeting people or meeting new potential clients. I imagine smiling faces and I imagine it going well. And obviously, not to the very last detail, but the more that you can actually visualize it, it's like you're manifesting. You're creating your own
Yeah.
reality. And so at the end of the day, I do something similar in that as I'm laying down in bed, I start off, okay, so how did the day start off? And then I kind of run through what happened throughout the day and even the relationships, like what, even with my kids. How was I with my kids? How were the interactions? How could I have done things a little bit better? Sometimes, I've maybe overreacted with something with the kids. I think to myself, okay, instead of being hard on myself, how could I have done that better? And what am I going to do tomorrow differently? Right.
Right.
So instead of putting the pressure and shaming ourselves, learning from it and moving forward. And so to me, that's really important, having that self reflection. And some people, they meditate, and I try to do that, but I find that self reflection for me really works. It helps to give introspection and to set yourself up for wins the next day.
It's the little things. Any change that you do, it has to be for you. You have to want it. And one of the biggest things that I want for you guys, and hopefully you want for yourselves, is that sense of independence. I'm not saying you all need to go out there and start your own business today or tomorrow. That's not what this episode's about. What I really want for you guys is to be confident and happy, because especially if you're in my generation or younger, retirement's not really a thing anymore. So it's not like you can do 30 and be out. No, they're talking 70 plus years old. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I want to work for another 45 or 50 years. I was like, I just don't have it in my tank emotionally or mentally. And especially doing something I'm not passionate about. The biggest things that I feel or I see so many people fall into is they get a job because they're like, well, I need money. I have to pay bills. Or also, nobody wants a broke partner. Let's be honest. I was like, you can't really take a girl out if you don't have the funds. And
Mhm.
asking your parents or your siblings to borrow money to take somebody out, also not really cute. It's not a look. Being not so bad at being a bachelor means that you have to be able to provide a certain level of lifestyle and or bachelorette, because I love my ladies out there too, watching and supporting. In that, the first two steps are A, finding what you're passionate about, and B, deciding, if I don't start my own business, how can I still embody a leader? How can I still become a leader within my industry and start living a higher caliber life? Because
I
that's
love it.
really that's really
Yeah.
what we want. If you don't want your own, that's completely fine. A lot of people rent apartments. That not everybody wants to buy a house. That's fine, but we don't just want to exist anymore. Okay, it's 2024. We're Lamborghinis. Okay,
Oh,
we
yeah.
require a lot of maintenance. We're sleek. We're sexy, and we're ready to be driven out on the road. Okay, we're breaking free. Like I said, it was just a feeling one day. I woke up and I was like, I'm not really in love with anything I've been doing. Let me just try doing things my way. That's what it was for me to start my own business. Was there a moment where you really realized that, even though we've always had this on this certain mindset, what was it that really got you thinking that I'm not really happy? I'm not in love?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. I thought this was going in another direction. I had something I wanted to I'll come back to the other thing you talked about, and I'll try to answer that. So, okay, so we're going back to when I was married then. And
Oh,
what
okay.
is that what you're asking, or tell
Well,
me
I
again.
did say in love. You're right. You're right. You're right. I
Are
mean,
we talking business or are we talking relationship?
well, now I'm gonna have to put a pin in my original thought.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
talking business, but no.
No, no, no.
Let's
We'll
go
go
there.
back
Let's
to
go there. Let's
business.
go there. I mean, because this is also important, because we talk about this, setting boundaries, knowing what you will and won't tolerate, and just knowing that saying, "Hey, this isn't it for me," isn't a failure. It's not a failure at all. We talk about that. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. Just like working for somebody wasn't the right fit for you.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
just wasn't the
yeah.
right partner.
Okay, I'll tie it all in. I'll tie it on
Okay.
all in there, Joshua. So, yeah, gosh, I mean, and by the way, I'm not promoting divorce at all. Like I'm
Well,
saying, like if you can stay in a relationship and you're married, like do your very best to work on it because it's hard, especially when you have kids. And there's so many times that I've doubted myself, but even in making the decision. But for me, we were married for 12 years,
okay.
and so a decent amount of time.
Right.
And it's not that we hated each other. It wasn't like a tumultuous, horrible relationship. It's just that over time, and I would say, several years in, and when I had the kids, I started realizing that our core values were very different. The way that we thought about life, the things that were important to us. I took a coaching course, so I am a certified personal coach, but I only did that because I wanted to be a better leader for my team,
Hmm.
and show up better in the world, right? Like you were saying earlier, like I want to be the best version of me. So I'm always learning. I'm always taking courses. I'm always learning. There's always something that I'm learning new because that's me. If we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards. So that's just my personality. I don't know whether it's just my DNA, but I always need to be learning something new because it helps to fill my tank. So going through all this, I just realized that we were really different, and I was struggling because one of my core values is family and providing for and being there for my kids. And so I struggled with that because I didn't want to break the family unit, but then I was lying to myself and what was important to me. So it took several years to actually make that decision, and it was agony. But what I found was it was more difficult being indecisive, right? When you're in indecision, just like anything in life, it's like,
Right.
oh, do I do this? Do I do that? And you're kind of weighing the pros and the cons, and it's so stressful. But when you make a decision, you stick to that decision, it's so much easier because now you're on a path forward, right? So as soon as you pull that trigger or you make that decision, it was difficult in the beginning for sure because it was change for everybody. But I had hope and I had faith. It's like I knew that there was something more for me. And I don't necessarily mean person. I just mean I was a better person on my own, honoring my core values. And so, although the transition, going through all of that, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It wasn't fun. But
Yeah.
now that it's all over, I'm glad that I did it, and it was worth it for sure. It's just you need to definitely be pretty strong. But one thing that I realized and what's carried over into my professional life is that I hold myself true to my core values. So knowing what my values were in my marriage and knowing that we weren't aligned helped guide me into making that decision. And then similarly, opening up my own business and aligning myself and having the confidence to bet my life on my own skills,
Yeah.
having that confidence to be able to do that, that was a big leap. But now I actually teach my clients on how to be the best version of you. So, as I mentioned earlier, my company is a dental recruiting company. And so, my clients are dentists who are looking for candidates. So, really, I've got two sets of clients. And the candidates who are, looking for a job, I always teach them, like I go into dental assisting schools and hygiene schools and I do presentations. So a
Right.
lot of times the instructors and the professors will ask me to come in, and also into the universities to teach the third and fourth year dental students. And when I go in there, it's not a pitch about my business. I'll say, hey, I'm Melissa from Enspire. This is what I do, and I can help you when you graduate. But this is what I want to teach you today. I want to teach you how to stand out and create a thriving career you love. And coincidentally, I wrote a book about that myself and one of my recruiters. We wrote a book, and I'll share a little bit about that at the end. But it's on how to stand out and create a thriving career you love. And one of the exercises, one of the first exercises in the book is to find out your core values. Because I wholeheartedly believe that people who understand what is really important to them, it will allow them to align with the right people, the right jobs. And when you're in the right fit, the right job, you're going to be much happier. Your employer is going to be happier. Your patients or your clients are going to be happier. And then when you go home to your relationships, they're going to be happier because you're thriving in the career. You're not just looking for that shiny penny or that big, paycheck. Yes, paycheck is important, but it's just as important, if not more, to be doing what you enjoy and with the people that you're in a line with. So if you figure out, because so many people will want the job because of the money and not realize that the environment is toxic, right?
Right.
The number one thing, Joshua, that our candidates say to us, like one of the questions that we ask when candidates come to us and say, I'm looking for a new job, why are you leaving your current job? What about it? And most people think it would be about the money, but it's not. The number one thing that we hear why people leave their job is because A, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel respected. The office is toxic. So it's just like what you said at the beginning, is not feeling seen or heard. It really has nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with being a part of a cohesive team that you're aligned with. And it's
100%.
such a huge thing. I cannot stress that enough.
It's so funny because, like you said, the paycheck is important, but I've definitely taken jobs where I made less because I either gained my work life balance or I felt I was actually working with people I liked and it was a healthy environment. Because those are priceless intangibles that I appreciated in my time as an employee and that I strive to create as an employer now. It's never something anybody thinks about. How do you recruit, high caliber clients? I was like, or not clients, well, clients too, but employees. And I was like, I treat my employees the way I've always wanted to be treated anytime I worked. The biggest thing that I talk to about some of my friends or that I remember about where I worked is when I hire you for a job, that means I saw something in you or I thought you capable enough to fulfill the function. I don't want to helicopter and hover over you or nitpick at everything because then that also chips away at your confidence. And it's part of my core values to let every individual be an individual. Like I needed your specific brand of awkwardness or confidence or genius to be a part of my team. So why would I strip that away from you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really being a leader to recognize those things. Part of my training is I do personality profiles, and I teach everybody, how to figure out what theirs is, but more importantly, how to recognize other people's personality style. And instead of being critical, to be curious. So, when we're working with people, we assume if they don't think the way we do, or they don't act the way we do, or they don't like, we immediately go critical, or we take things personally, as opposed to reframing and thinking, I'm curious about that. I'm curious as to why they think that way. And so if we just made that little shift from critical to curious, gosh, that would solve so many problems, because the reality is humans are complex. We all
Yes.
have different personality traits. And if we can become curious and also have the knowledge that we're all different and we all bring different things, and the best teams are the most diverse teams because they're bringing the most creativity. So you need to have some people who are introverted, you need to have some people who are extroverted, you need to have some people who are more analytical brains, you need to have some people who are more relational and social. You need to have the whole mixed bag to have a well functioning team. And so it's great that you're able to spot those talents in people, because you're right. It's the leaders who are the ones to spot those talents in people that don't even realize that it's there, and
Right.
help to share, figure out what your gift is and give it away. Because we all have unique gifts. We all have a unique ability. And if you don't know what that is, think about the thing that you get complimented on most frequently that you don't think a gift is, right? So most times our unique abilities are those things that we think is like, oh no, that's not a unique ability. Like that's not a talent. That just comes easy to me. Well,
Right.
that probably is your unique ability. That's your
Mhm.
gift. And that's what you want to hone in on. And if you can make money on that gift, then even better. So
Right.
we all have unique abilities, and it's just kind of figuring out what that is, and can you incorporate that into your life, whether it be you working for somebody or whether it's your own boss. And I always like to say, even if you're working for somebody, I have a training, a presentation that I do that's called Be the CEO of You. And act as if you're the CEO of you, even when you're working for somebody else. Because when you start taking ownership and responsibility for your own actions and making decisions based on, I wonder if I were to own this company, would I be making that same decision? If you can frame it in that way, then you're going to be the one who's going to start getting recognized for promotions. You're going to be the one who people are going to be attracted to because you're going to have a different confidence. You're going to have a different energy. You're going to have a different posture. You're going to have a different disposition. So instead of like, oh, I'm working for somebody else and making them rich, why
Right.
not act as if you're the, without being arrogant? Confident and arrogance is different. You want to be
That's
confident
true.
without the cockiness or the arrogance. You know, arrogance is thinking you're better than somebody else, and confidence is knowing that you have the skill set to go forward. So it really is taking ownership, and you will be the one that will be up for that promotion or that connection or that referral or somebody to think about you in a light to write an article or whatever it is, that next opportunity, and
Hmm.
live your life that way and see what happens.
Because, if you knew how your story end, would you really try as hard? If you just
Would
knew
I?
that you would make it, would
Yeah.
you have that same fire, that hunger that probably allowed you to make it? If you knew that you were going to find your person, would you really even be that invested into your dates? Or would you think that every date is, your person, and maybe, invest too much into the wrong person? Because investing too much is also bad in business sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's what I was saying before, Joshua. It's like it's the really good business leaders know when enough is enough, right? Like there's such thing as actually saying, okay, you know what? It this has come to its end and it's time to, cut the cord, right? Cut the cord and
Yeah.
move on, learn the lesson, move on. And that applies to relationships too. Sometimes we invest, gosh, I've done it where we invest so much time into the relationship and if it's not going somewhere, like
Yeah.
if you sit with yourself long enough and kind of, I don't know, if you meditate or if you self-reflect, the answers will come to you. We just don't want to admit them sometimes. We just
Yeah.
don't want to admit that it's over, admit that it's wrong for us because we've, it's scary. It's scary to take the leap. But the thing is, I think the trick in life is to ask for what you want and then shift focus, right? Like, okay, so
Right.
put it out there that you want something, but don't focus on it so much where it comes to the point where it's
Like where you get that tunnel vision. Yeah.
desperate or needy, right?
Oh,
It's
yes.
like put that out there and then shift onto something else. Or if you're going through somewhere where if you don't know what decision to make, don't make it right now. It's okay. Shelf it for a bit. Focus
Yeah.
on something completely different, something that you love to do, maybe, and then you'll find that in that love or the ease of something else that you're doing, the ease of the decision will come in the other area of your life, as
Yeah.
opposed to focusing so much where you can't think straight. So shift your focus, distract yourself, work on something else, and then I find the answers come in other areas of your life that you're finding difficulty with, or you don't know what to do.
There is, this is completely random nerd quote, but I'm going to use it because I think it applies. For any of my Lord of the Rings fans out there, I believe Gandalf said, wizards are never early or late. They arrive when they're needed. And that's how
I
we
just
really,
got chills. I just
I mean,
I just got
that's how
chills. I
you
love
create
that quote.
opportunity. Yeah.
Mm.
If we spend so much time thinking everybody's like 5, 10 year plans, if they think that there's a deadline or these very strict conditions in which a reaction is going to happen, you can't force a square into a circle. It's not going to fit. But if you just let things come to you naturally, you'll never be early or late. You'll just be where you need to be.
Yeah, I love that quote. I think it's so, so true. Life happens just as it should. I have a friend, she's such a wonderful human being, and she's never been married, never had kids, and she's 45 now. So, she's like most women would be like, "Oh my gosh, my biological clock is ticking. I've never
No.
been married. I should have kids by now." And she's so easygoing and just like, you know what? It'll happen when it happens. Anyway, so she's now just got engaged. She's pregnant, married. Actually, they just went to City Hall and got married, and she's just the happiest. They're both
Right.
the most admirable couple that I've ever met in my life. Neither of them, have been married,
Hmm.
and they just found each other a little bit later in life. We have to stop taking these timelines off because, she's got just the most wonderful relationship. And had she had made a decision earlier, it might have been the wrong one.
Exactly.
And sometimes good things come to those who wait.
So true. Patience will always be a virtue. So there's a part in the show that I like to do every go round because I think it just helps connect us to the audience. Or if nothing else, it just helps our friendship deepen. And it's called our quickie questions. It's just I don't want you to think too much, but whatever pops into your head, just say it. I want to get through. I want to know the real you, not the act that you might be put on even for yourself. We've been talking a lot about building, creating relationships. So I would have to say, and this has been really prevalent, but we haven't really talked about it. You talked about your core values. What are your core values?
So I have company core values
Okay.
that are derived from my core, but my personal are my personal that pull into my business. One of my biggest core values is respect. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I highly respect other people no matter what, even if I don't agree with them, even if we're on the completely different page. Like, respect is a really big thing for me. So, and the way that I know that respect is big for me, and the way that you'll know this for yourself if you have a core value, is think about something that really bothers you, like really triggers you,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like, then usually the opposite is your core. So for me, if I don't feel respected, it really bothers me. Like, it really at my core, oh, my stomach just kind of, so respect is really important. If I don't feel respected, I get pretty triggered about that. I really make sure that I respect other people, and I expect the same back. So
Yeah.
that obviously is core value in my business. Trust is a huge core value for me. I'm one of those people that trust people until they break the trust.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
I know a lot of other people, like there are people who don't trust anybody until you earn the trust. No, I trust you. Because for me, I'm open. I'm kind of like, you know what? I feel like I'm a trustworthy person. I trust you until you do something. I say this to my kids, like, I'll trust you, but as soon as you break that trust, then you're in earning mode
Yeah.
because you can't, and sometimes you can't get that trust back. So I know that for me, it really triggers me if the trust isn't there. So I can't work with people. If I don't trust people, I can't have them on my team. And even clients, like I've fired clients before because of the trust factor, because that is so strong in my core values, because I'm a trustworthy person and I expect the same.
There's a grading scale for trust. A lot of my professors, they were like, "You start the semester with 100, all the trust, all the loyalty, support I can give, it's yours, but it's also yours to lose.
Mm.
Every action you take or you don't take." I was like, it's gonna make me start chipping away, ticking down, ticking down, ticking down. You can try to work and build some of it up, but getting back to 100 is going to be a really tough job. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we call the relationship bank account. That's another topic. That's when making withdrawals and deposits, it's in any relationship, whether it be professor or student, intimate relationships. And I live by this is it's really, are you adding to the bank account, the relationship bank account, or are you withdrawing? And it could be the littlest thing. So that's connection is big for me if we're talking personal. Having that sense of connection is really important for me. The ability to be able to have an open communication and connected conversation, that's really important. And I guess that translates into my business in that, in teamwork, the ability, teamwork and communication, and team empowerment, allowing my team to feel empowered to make decisions and feel heard. And so we make sure that we communicate. We've got team meetings, and they can come to me for really anything, and they know that their opinions are going to matter. And that's important in relationships as well, including friendships, intimate
Yeah.
relationships. That's really important. And another big one for me is fun. Like I want to have fun. Like I want to live my life. I want to have fun. I want to have fun in my personal life and I want to have fun in business. So I'm not the one that's going to be kind of just like very like I like to bring fun into everything that I do and I love seeing a smile on people's faces. That's really important to me.
Well, speaking of fun, I mean, this perfect segue into my next question. What is the most adventurous thing that you have yet to do?
Yeah,
Something you've wanted to do, but you haven't done it yet.
that's a great question. I've been really blessed that I've done a lot of crazy things and fun things. Okay. So I really want to go to Machu Picchu. I'd like to
Okay.
go and go to Peru. I don't know if that's crazy though.
I just said adventurous. I didn't say crazy.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So that would be adventure. I love to travel. I
Yeah.
love traveling. I really want to, there's so many places that I want to travel.
Top 3 travel spots that you want to get to in 2024. Let's hear it.
Oh, in 2024.
Why not? Why are we
Okay.
waiting?
Okay, right, right. All right. So I have a vision board. I wish
Okay.
I had it. It's upstairs. I keep it above my toilet
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to see it every day.
Best place to do my thinking. I can't be upset. Yeah.
I love it, right? Like I'm brushing my teeth and I see it right there. So I have Greece on there. So Greece
Okay.
is above my toilet. And I mean, I've got a couple places that I'm going to, but I've been there before. I want to do more travel in South America. So obviously Peru, I'd love to see Colombia. I really want to go to the Galapagos Islands.
Okay. Yeah.
Would love to do that. And I want to see more of the Middle East, but when things are a little more, yeah, a
Does it ever
little
really settle? I mean,
a little
but you're
different.
right. You're right. There's, yeah.
Yeah. I was in Turkey a couple years ago and it was one of the best places that I've been to from the history, the
Oh, yeah.
culture, the people, the food. Like when I went there, I'm like, I got to come back to the Middle East. Like
Yeah.
even though it's considered Europe, Asia, it's still got that Middle Eastern
Right.
flair.
Like, Istanbul.
Outstanding.
Amazing.
So I want to go back. I want to go back to the Middle East.
So this is a term that I'm trying to define more because I'm realizing that it has a lot of depth to it. Spontaneity or spontaneous. What does it mean to be spontaneous to you?
Saying yes. It means saying yes to opportunities when you least expect them. And I will say that I am actually quite spontaneous, which is interesting because a lot of people think of me as a little more conservative, and I can be in certain situations. But then I have this crazy spontaneous side where I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I have to learn to say no more because I'm always the person to say yes and then figure it out along the way. I'll say yes, and then I make a commitment. I'm like, oh gosh, I got to figure out how I'm going to do this now. So it means saying yes, even when you have no idea, what the outcome is going to be.
So now I'm really more intrigued than you because I would think the opposite in our short conversation. I'm a weird, like, metaphor type of guy. I love comparing. To me, you give a lot of like kite energy. You just soar high. You're so light. You're vibrant. Like, you would go wherever any adventure takes you. And I believe your business is the same way. You set your sights like super high and you're just like taking off. You're just sailing. It's easy. That's just the
That's such
vibe
a
I got from you.
that's such a beautiful compliment. Thank you. I love that kite energy. Did you come up with that? Okay, I'm writing that down. I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
use it. I'm going to
Listen,
give you credit.
just give me credit when it's due. That's all I ask.
I absolutely will. Kite energy.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
I
kite
mean,
energy.
I mean,
Yeah,
people have that people are bubbly. You're just kite.
I
You know.
love it. You're a good people reader. I do. I set my sights and my goals pretty high because why not? We live once, right? Like
I literally said that 3 times today.
we really live once that we know of. And you know what? I want to live my life to the fullest potential. And if that means kind of being, you got it. And in doing that, you got to be spontaneous. Like if
Yeah.
I didn't say yes to all the opportunities that were given to me, I would, I'd be living in this box and I wouldn't be happy. So for me, with just like in my business, my core business is this dental recruiting company. But from there, I've been asked to do trainings and speaking engagements, and it's taken me all over the world.
Yeah.
And I
We
meet
love
all
that.
these phenomenal people. From there, I'm creating an app and writing books, and just because I'm saying yes to things. And we are more capable than we know. And you don't know unless you actually take the leap. So that's what I'm all about.
I love that. There are two more things that I really just want to know, so I'm going to ask them because it's my show and I
Okay.
can.
I love it.
That's always the mentality we keep here. It's like, when it's yours, you can do what you want with it. What was the last spontaneous thing that you did? Because we talked about it. So you're adventurous, you're ambitious, you're full of vibrant energy, just not stagnant energy, but vibrant energy. So what was the last spontaneous thing that you did?
Gosh. I
Oh,
mean,
you
big
world
or small.
traveler, come on. There has to be
I
something.
know. I know. I mean, there's so many things that stand out. Like there's big ones and small ones. I mean, I think, you know, I spontaneously moved to Japan. I mean, this was a while ago though.
Yeah,
This was years ago. So like when you say spontaneous, that immediately jumps out at me. I moved to Japan and lived there for a few years. But recently, gosh, I think because I did that, I realized my capabilities,
yeah,
leaving everything here. And that kind of set the trajectory for my life. I was like 21 years old, left everything here, moved out to Japan, didn't know any of the language, taught English for a couple of years there, backpacked around Asia. And, you meet people along the way. Anytime you meet somebody, like, like, hey, meet new friends and let's go here and let's do that. And I just kind of, I look back and I think, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I'm so lucky. This doesn't compare to Japan, but I had a presentation that initially was going to be done on Zoom because they're 5 hours away.
Right.
And I decided kind of not last minute, but I decided, I'm gonna go and drive. I'm gonna make it happen, even though it was difficult because the kids I did, coordinate with them and other things that were going on and put some other things because everything that you say anything that you say yes to, you're saying no to something else, right?
Fair.
So in doing that, I knew that I would make better connections if I saw these people in person. So I could have taken the easy route and just did the presentation, from the comfort of my home. But there was something in my gut saying, no, you got to go. You got to go. Just go, be spontaneous, meet these people, make some connections. And it was awesome. I'm so glad that I followed my gut on that because I made some great connections and potential actual friendships and relationships, and
Amazing.
it just deepened things, right? And I had a great
Yeah.
time doing it, and it was really nice to get away.
And then the last question I have for you, it's a little personal, but I think it's a great question. What is something that is common knowledge for you that people would be surprised to learn?
So common knowledge for me, meaning that,
Like, just about you. Like, what to you that everybody who sees you day to day might not really know about you, but you think it's just one of the most basic parts of who I am? I got to make you think a little bit, you know?
okay, I like it. I like these questions. These are good. So I would say, I mean, do we want to get deep here?
Listen, I have scuba gear in the back.
I love
We have
it.
shovels. We can listen, we
I
can go as
love
deep
it.
as you want to.
Uh, oh, that was another spontaneous thing I did, scuba diving without a PADI license in Thailand. That was bad.
I'm
It
supposedly
was
going
fun.
to Thailand this year, so I'm excited.
Oh, you're gonna love it. Oh, and you got to go scuba diving, but get certified first. Okay, this is going to be personal.
Okay.
Joshua, you're getting it out of me here. So one thing that people may not know about me, because I always hear the opposite, is that I have insecurities. Like I'm actually insecure about a lot of things. Not a lot of things, but some things. And that doesn't mean that I'm not confident.
Hmm.
I think I can pull off confidence because I'm confident in so many areas. But I do have some insecurities. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I got to work through from, we all have a past, right? We all have our childhood and stuff. And I think that some of it may stem from that. But what I've learned is that through my insecurities, I turn those around into my strengths, if that makes sense. So the things that I feel insecure about, I do something about it, right? Maybe one of the reasons why I'm such a go-getter and why I'm always doing things is to prove to myself that I'm worthy and that I'm worth it. I don't know. Like these are conversations. Again, it's a little more of a deeper conversation, but I wonder that sometimes because people tend to think that I'm so put together and so confident, and I am in most respects. I
Yeah.
can pull it together. I can walk in a room and pull things off. But at the core of me, I definitely have vulnerabilities just like everybody else. And I think that sometimes because I have such a strong exterior, people forget that. And because of that, I'm always the one taking care of people, and people forget that the people out there that are really strong on the outside need to be taken care of too. So I'll leave it at that.
Oh, I brought up my notebook. This doesn't happen every episode, but I'm a big note taker, or sometimes I just come up with a great idea and I want to write it down. There's so much depth to you. And I think genuinely, like, I've enjoyed you so much just as a person. Our conversation has been effortless. And I think there's still so much more that we can get out of you that I was like, I need to write down episode 2 conversation topics because sorry, you have to come back. You're
Don't be
yeah.
sorry. I want to come back. I'm coming back.
Listen, I today was great because we touched on a lot of great topics and we tied in both our worlds beautifully, business and pleasure. But you're right, sometimes we just need to just get deep and really just understand each other, just talk. And I would love to just sit down and chat,
I
you
would
know?
love to as well. This has been a great conversation. I typically don't go that deep, actually, Joshua.
Listen, I
So
mean,
you
I'm
got a
not
gift
saying I'm
there.
good at my job, but like I
You,
might be a little good at
you're
my
pretty
job.
good. You're pretty
Yeah.
good. I'll call it. I'll call
Yeah.
it. You're pretty good. But I
No.
want to be, and this is how we have authentic relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is actually being vulnerable sometimes and
100%.
speaking the truth. And I think that it's actually, Brown says, being vulnerable is actually courage. There's courage in the vulnerability. So I think that's something that I want to be more of, is building a more authentic relationships. And you can only do that by being you and standing in your truth. And sometimes that means being vulnerable, and that's okay.
One of the first episodes, I had one of my closest friends on, and he used a lot of seed metaphors, or he talked about people as seeds because we have so much potential for growth. But
Mm.
one of the early points he made is even the most vulnerable and fragile things can grow the strongest and deepest roots, I believe is what he said.
Mhm.
And I thought that was such an accurate but beautiful depiction of life because we're putty when we're born. We're easily shaped by our connections, the people we meet, and we start to connect and like put some roots down. But not every relationship is sustaining enough to really build a strong foundation. So the fact that you felt comfortable enough with me to get deep, to start planning, setting some roots, I don't know, I like that.
It's been a pleasure, and I think that we're going to be friends.
Oh,
We are friends.
there's no think, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately after this, yeah.
And you're in Nashville.
But listen,
Like,
you're coming to
Party
see me in a
City.
couple months. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Absolutely.
yeah.
It's going to be fun.
But before we get off here, I have to let everybody know, where can they connect with you if they are ready to shake their life up a bit or just get a little more confident in their skill set, you know?
Yeah. So where can they? Okay, I'm all over social media. So at Melissa Barlock. So Melissa Barlock, or Instagram at MB_Enspire. But if you search up Melissa Barlock, you'll find me on all the socials. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and yeah, my website as well. My website's Enspire Opportunities. Yeah, reach out. I do coaching, leadership coaching as well. And if I can, I'm gonna kind of bring these two books in here as well. So you can actually go to
Both of them.
Amazon. I've got two books here. They're both called The Dental Edge. This one is Stand Out and Create a Thriving Career You Love. So that's obviously for any professional looking to stand out and really align themselves with the proper, their core. And it's not just for dental. Like, the reason I did dental was because obviously those are the majority of my clients, but it really applies to any individual wanting to stand out and create a career they love. And then this one here is also the Dental Edge series, but it's Attract and Engage Top Talent. So that's for hiring managers, HR managers who are looking to attract talent onto their team, do some culture building and engaging their team so that they have, powerhouses. And so those are both available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. We actually got to the number one Amazon bestseller within the first 24 hours of this being out. So that was really exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you guys are interested, go there and you can buy the book or reach out to me. I'd love to chat. I'd love to be connected on socials. Again, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook are probably the top ones that I'm on. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you thought about the podcast, and also if there's anything I can do to help support you in your business or personal journeys.
Well, guys, you heard it here first. Go on down to the links down below. Like, I'm going to put the link to her Amazon book because, I mean, we all want to attract top talent, whether in our business or personal life. And also, let me know, because I'm a little curious. We let you know some of our core values. Let us know in the comments, what are your core values, okay? And then I will see all you beautiful people next week for another episode of the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad.